Hello everyone, I'm Alyssa Dunan. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Trending Vegas. So much has happened in the last few weeks, so we're going to touch on a lot of topics today. I'm joined by a portion of our city's social media team, including Jennifer Davies and Nikki Bowers. And our social media influencer today, she is a superstar with over 5 million followers on her social media platforms. Jessica Wu, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
So I've been dying to get a TikTok star on this show, and I follow you because you're very versatile. Lifestyle, you do food, a little bit of everything. How did you get started with social media?
I've just always been into social media. It's just one of those things. I was into marketing in high school. So, I think social media, I saw that as a marketing opportunity. And I just grew with it. A lot of my, having kids, they're into social media and I like to know what's going on. So, yeah, I think that's why I kind of, I'm always into it. Everyone's on social media. So,
right. Everyone is on social media. One of your videos that we have here has millions and millions of views, and it is putting together a bento box for your girls. Is there one video in particular that kind of just made you get out there and made your name known?
My first lunch video actually was the first viral one. It got 5 million the first day. And then,
wow,
yeah,
5 million,
5 million
the first
views,
day?
First day, yeah, I woke up and from that 5 million, I gained like 95,000 followers. Oh yeah, it was so crazy.
And so how did your life change after that? I mean, I'm assuming it does change, right?
Yeah, it changed pretty much instantly. Within 2 months, I got signed with an agency. I hit 1 million followers. Yeah, literally so fast. So within, yeah, I mean, 1 million in 2 months is pretty crazy. And then signing with an agency in LA was really crazy.
Now, was that your goal, or was that something that just kind of happened and you went with it?
I didn't know what my goal was. Honestly, I knew I wanted to do something in my life where I could impact people, I can help the community, I can help, people anywhere learn something from me in any way. So yeah, I think in a way it was, but in a way not at the same time.
Right.
Yeah.
So what's your specialty? What do you love to do specifically on TikTok and Instagram that just is your passion?
I just love sharing my love for food and my family, basically. And, whatever we do that's fun and exciting. What I love doing, I love teaching. I have a big makeup background. I love fashion. So anything that's like interesting to me, I'm like, oh, I want to share it with the world.
Okay, well, congratulations, and we're so glad you're joining us today.
Thank you.
All right, guys, let's jump into our first topic, and that, of course, is the tragic collision involving a now former Las Vegas Raiders football player, Henry Ruggs III. He is accused of killing a 23-year-old woman and her dog after driving under the influence. Here's a look at some of these social posts. First, this one from Barstool Sports. Henry Ruggs was allegedly driving 156 miles per hour before his crash, had a blood alcohol content more than twice the legal limit, and a dog was killed in the accident. We have this one from a Twitter follower. How Ruggs and his passenger survived 156 miles per hour and walked away from it in this is wild. The whole front end is gone. Then this is the woman that was killed in the Henry Ruggs III DUI crash. Rest in peace, Tina Tintor. We have this from the Raiders. The Raiders are aware of an accident involving Henry Ruggs III that occurred this morning in Las Vegas. We are devastated by the loss of life, and our thoughts and prayers go out to the victim's family. We are in the process of gathering information and will have no further comment at this time. And of course, this from Raiders quarterback Derek Carr said he'll be there for now former teammate Henry Ruggs if needed following his fatal DUI crash. Here's a listen.
I will always be here for him. That won't change, and I'll prove that over the course of time to him, not to anybody else. But he needs people to love him right now. He's probably feeling a certain type of way about himself right now, and he needs to be loved. And if no one else will do it, I'll do it.
So those are very powerful words from quarterback Derek Carr. You guys, I just want to talk about this because it's devastating. First, a few weeks ago, the Raiders are just always making the news. You have Gruden, who gets let go with those horrible emails that came to light. Now we have this, and this involves a loss of life. And I think the question everybody's asking is, why? Right. You have so many millions of dollars at your disposal. Why do you not call someone? Jessica, let me start with you. What did you think about social media and the days that followed this crash?
You know, I was just so sad, you know, the lady was 23 years old, and that's so young. And even him, he's so young, he had his whole life ahead of him, and now it's, you know, now it's like completely changed. He has to live with that forever. I don't know, it's so devastating and terrible, and definitely should not have happened. You know, we have Uber, Lyft, we have taxis, we have, you know, his passenger could have said like, hey, let's not drive.
Right.
So
I think it's really sad. I think you sit there and you go, you're so young and you're so successful, and your whole life is now gone, as well as the victim. So Nikki, what did you see on social?
So I was seeing on social, a lot of people were just outraged, especially for the simple fact that he is a person who has means to obtain an Uber, obtain a personal driver. And not only that, the NFL, I saw someone talking about it on Twitter, they were saying how the NFL actually has its own service for players who are under the influence and who can't drive home, that he could have just called that. And so it's just a lot of the reaction on social media has just been outrage. Everybody's life ruined in one bad decision, and it's just a lot of outrage. People are really upset.
Jen, what are you saying? What are your thoughts?
The video and photos that are coming out of this accident scene were so heart-wrenching. I mean, later in the week, we saw the actual video of him and his girlfriend on the ground after the accident. And I mean, it's just horrific. The car is burning in the background. I mean, it's literally like a movie that you're watching, except it's just a horrific tragedy playing out in front of you. And I think it's also different because people could actually go back on their social media and look at all these different times. Like there was this video coming out where the girlfriend had told him to slow down. So I just think there's so many layers of social media into this story, because you could live the accident scene and you could also just explore their past. And unfortunately, those posts just didn't age well.
You know, that's a good point. I do want to mention, I did see the video of them driving in the Corvette. It was a past video from a couple years ago of him and another passenger, and she's telling him, slow down, and he's in Las Vegas, and he's in that Corvette, and he is going really, really fast. And now those kinds of things come back and haunt you, make the situation worse, shows prosecutors that this is a habit. This wasn't a DUI thing necessarily. You liked to do this. You liked to go fast.
Yeah, one of the other things people were kind of pointing out about like how it does show how there's such a disconnect in our society with like empathy is that, you know, Tina's in that car and she's literally burning to death. And when the police arrive, you hear a person say, can you help him? He's a Raiders player. He's out there, he's on the ground, he's okay, but this poor woman is burning to death. You know, and you can hear her screaming.
And that's the other question I wanted to ask you guys, because I feel like with this story, Jen, like you said, there's a lot of social media layers to it. Do you keep showing this video? Where is the ethical balance of, you know, this person is dying essentially in this video, but now you have all the major networks playing it, you have TMZ playing it over and over and over again. Is there an obligation to stop and show some respect to the victim in that point and to the family? It's a really good question. What are your thoughts on that? Just because you're an influencer, would you mind if social media did that?
Yeah, I mean, I think there should be, you know, regulations on stuff like that. I mean, you know, kids are watching. Their families are watching. That's really hard. So.
It is. Oh, it's so hard. Okay, guys, we're going to move on to the next topic, and that is the official approval of the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine for children between the ages of 5 and 11. Here's a look at some of the social. First, this from the Southern Nevada Health District. Following CDC government recommendations, we'll begin administering Pfizer pediatric COVID vaccine to children ages 5 to 11 beginning Wednesday, November 10th. That's at their main location. Then we have this from Immunize Nevada. The CDC director has signed off on COVID-19 vaccine for kids aged 5 to 11. Check with your child's provider to see if they are enrolled in the COVID-19 vaccine program. If not, public health clinics and pharmacies in Nevada are also available to vaccinate. But then, of course, we start getting into the controversy. We have this: my kids aren't your experiment for the vaccine, which is with a sign that says, my children will not be an experiment to make you feel safe. Then we have this side. So happy for this news since we have a 5-year-old, but still not through the woods since our 2-year-old can't be vaccinated yet. Hope they approve for 2-year-olds soon. And it goes on and on and on. And I'm so glad, Jessica, you're joining us today. You're a mom of 3. You don't have to tell us what your preference is, but what are your thoughts on the back and forth going on with the vaccine? You can tell us, I'm vaccinating my 7-year-old. I'm nervous to do so. I'm not even going to lie about it. It makes me a little nervous. What are your thoughts?
I'm nervous too, but me going through the vaccine, I had COVID in January really bad, and the vaccine was the only thing that actually made me feel better. So I'm all for the vaccine. I'm gonna get my kids vaccinated. I have the same dilemma because I do have a 3-year-old and then a 7 and 10-year-old. So that's the only thing that's kind of like, oh man, But my youngest one actually got COVID with me, and she didn't get it as bad as I did. So it's okay. But, I want to travel. I want the whole world to be better, and I think vaccines are the way to go. I mean, the HPV vaccine was very new when we were growing up, and it literally is saving people from having cervical cancer.
True.
I just believe in vaccines, and I believe in our doctors, and
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Nikki, what are you seeing on?
So I'm seeing it all over the place, like you said. I'm seeing people who are for it because they are afraid about their children who are in school. And we all know kids, they pass germs to each other all the time. As much as you can tell a child to put their mask on and everything like that, when it's all said and done, kids are kids. And sometimes they're gonna forget, and they just pass little germs to each other all the time. So people who are worried about their children, they're like so excited about it and they're on board with it.
If the school districts make COVID a mandatory vaccine, I think that's when we're going to really start to see everyone come out and either pull their kids from school or kind of have to give in. But I would assume, and this is just theory, that this is the route we're going, right?
Yeah.
I mean, kids can't go to school without getting other vaccines.
And
why would the
people
COVID-19 vaccine be any different?
Exactly.
And people weren't upset. People were upset about the other vaccines too.
Right.
But then it turned out to be a good thing.
Exactly. Jen, you're a mom.
I am. I have a 2-year-old and a 6-year-old. So of course my daughter would fall into this category of being able to be vaccinated. And we're definitely reviewing all the research and looking into the studies. I think it's so important to remember that things that you might read on social media might be true, they might not. So it's always best to do your own research and most importantly, talk to your doctor because they're more familiar with your situation. I've been surprised on social media about the different types of people that have come out with endorsements for the vaccine, including Big Bird, who actually tweeted that Big Bird got the vaccine this week. And his arm hurt a little bit, but that was it. And of course, the internet is going crazy saying that maybe they shouldn't have done that. But I think it's smart on their part, if they are pro-vaccine, to use a friendly figure that kids look up to, and that is Big Bird. So that's been something that caught my attention recently.
If they could get a Roblox character to come
on,
on,
done.
I'm like,
done.
love Roadblock.
My kids are signed up.
Yeah,
They're ready to go. All right, guys. Well, I'm sure we'll hear more from this as it kind of pans out and rolls out. All right, now to the tragic news out of Houston after 8 people were killed and hundreds injured after a stampede during Travis Scott's performance. Now, I do have to warn you that the first picture we're going to be showing you could be triggering for some. So here's this. I'm in shock about the Astroworld Festival deaths and injuries. Rest in peace to the 8 lives lost. I'm genuinely in shock putting myself in these people's shoes, knowing the full danger of this image, and the scenario is terrifying. We have this from a Houston reporter. A growing memorial sits at NRG Park this morning where 8 lives were lost at the Astroworld Festival on Saturday. And then we have this video. This girl shouting, "Please stop the show," and the staff and organizer did nothing. This is heartbreaking. If the show was stopped sooner, how many lives could have been saved? I want to show you these 2 people that actually tried to get a cameraman to stop the show.
Let's do it.
So that was just horrifying video. Jessica, you mentioned to us just right now that people were in the crowds actually yelling, "Stop the show, stop the show." And then we have this from Day in Vegas 2021. Travis Scott will no longer be performing at Day in Vegas. The security and safety of all attending Day in Vegas has been and is always a top priority in our festival planning. We continue to work hand in hand with law enforcement, medical personnel, and public safety agencies on our protocols for the weekend. Please take care of yourself and each other. Look forward to seeing you in a few days. So I thought this was really interesting. Not only was this a tragedy, but for me, we have Life is Beautiful. We have Day in Vegas. We have EDC. And my question is, what happened at Astroworld that made the crowd do this? Was it incited by someone? And now, what are the safety protocols out there? Because I think that's what everyone wants to know. Astroworld is being sued. Travis Scott's being sued. Organizers are being sued. I think it's scary. Jessica, I want to start with you because you went to Life is Beautiful.
Yeah.
When you saw Astroworld and what happened, did you think like, oh my goodness, what did you think?
Yeah, I mean, that's so scary. I grew up going to a lot of live music concerts and shows, and that has never ever happened, nothing even close to being jam-packed. And, I heard that Travis Scott has a history of telling his fans to storm the concert. So that was a big thing, is so many people stormed the concert. So there were just people who didn't have tickets just rushing in and crowding even more, and I think, they have capacities for a reason.
Absolutely.
And I think that was a big thing where he messed up, where he has a history of doing this.
I do want to say that I saw on the evening news, it was declared a mass casualty at around 9:30 p.m. event, and Travis Scott didn't stop playing till about 40 minutes later.
Oh, wow.
So a lot of people are saying, and that is from a report I saw that's not confirmed by me, but a lot of people are saying he could have stopped it.
Right.
You go off stage, you stop it, and he didn't. So that's where the question lies. Jen, let me start. What are you seeing on social?
I think this is, again, so many social media layers to this story, so many horrifying photos and videos going around that helps all of us understand what it was maybe like to be like in the crowd. And again, with the Travis Scott thing, with things that he, may have told his followers in the past, those are, again, things and posts on social media that just don't age well when another incident takes place. And it's just really sad to see all around.
It comes back to bite you. Comes back to bite you if you're not careful what you post. Nikki, what are you seeing?
So I was seeing video that actually showed Travis Scott. He actually stopped the concert and he's like, someone's hurt, and he called for them to come. But he was doing what a lot of people tend to do in concerts, where they try to continue to entertain the crowd while paramedics and stuff. So I don't think he necessarily, you have to think about it, he's on a stage.
Right, you don't know.
And I think the difference between this and Life is Beautiful and stuff, Life is Beautiful has several stages. EDC has several stages. This is one big stage, and everyone's surrounding it.
That's a good
and
point.
so I think you got to understand, he probably didn't realize the magnitude of it.
Right.
So he's just doing what he does as an artist.
I kind of wonder too, if from performers' perspective, if they actually give them any emergency training behind the scenes that maybe we don't know about. Maybe that is a protocol that you're supposed to continue the show as much as possible to distract the crowd. I think if any other performers came out and said whether they did or didn't have those types of consultants on their tours, I think that would be really interesting information for the public to know.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see how much trouble, if any, Travis Scott gets in this case. But I think at the end of the day, the organizers, the event, the police personnel, at some point you say, enough, you're done.
Exactly.
And you pull him off.
And no one did that.
And nobody did that.
Yeah.
And I think that's the question. I would want that kind of know-all by a professional to say, this is done. For your safety, for your daughter's safety, for anybody else's safety, the concert's done. Get everyone out of here.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was not done. And I
that's
think
why
that's the question.
A lot of social media blame has been towards the event organizers and the actual security, because it was like no one was doing anything.
Right.
So.
And Travis Scott has offered to pay he only pulled out of Day in Vegas, and he's also to pay for the funerals of the victims. So we'll see how this all plays out. All right, guys, before we go, we have to discuss some amazing news. A North Carolina teen was rescued after she was kidnapped by a man. She was able to give a very specific hand gesture as she was in the car, a gesture she learned on TikTok that could have saved her life. Here's this. Police rescue a girl after she uses TikTok help hand gesture. The complainant was behind the vehicle and noticed a female passenger in the vehicle making hand gestures that are known on the social media platform TikTok that represent violence at home, I need help, domestic violence. Here's a picture. A 16-year-old girl held captive by this 61-year-old man was rescued on an interstate highway after another driver noticed her using a distress signal with her hand that she found on TikTok. And it goes on and on and on. And just the power of social media. This is what we always talk about on this show, is that, social media gets blamed for a lot of things and a lot of negative things, but this is a positive story that comes out of this. As a social media influencer, Jessica, how does this make you feel? Like, yes, you can't bash TikTok, or it's great,
Yeah, definitely. It goes from like learning little things to, saving lives. And I think it's amazing. There's so many different sides to TikTok, and there's even like people who, find missing people because of social media,
Right.
like that's so amazing. And so, yeah, I definitely think social media is far better than bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, especially in this case, that is amazing. Yeah.
I have to say, I learned a lot on TikTok, you guys. I go down the rabbit hole of TikTok. I get lost in there. TikTok comes on and tells me it's time to maybe take a break, and that's when it gets embarrassing for me, because I'm like, okay, wow, I've been on here too long.
I just scroll past it. I'm like, don't say anything.
Don't talk to me. I'm
tell you
going.
this stuff.
But I can't tell you, my kids' Christmas presents I found on TikTok.
Literally everything. Yeah,
Everything is
everything.
on TikTok.
Mhm,
Little things that I try at home, do it yourself. I think it's just a wealth of information, and I'm glad to see that something. And what is the hand gesture? You do this.
So you go this, that.
This, and you do it slowly. It's not a fast thing.
Yeah, you go slow.
So that is a sign that you are in danger. You need help. Jen, as a social media manager, what do you think about this story?
Well, I think that whenever social media platforms are involved in an emergency, maybe some of the first emergencies that they're involved in, that really means that they have arrived. And as if we needed any more validation that TikTok is the major social media platform that's really bringing in a lot of users. I mean, these types of stories are really it. From hurricanes to emergency safety. I've heard a story about how you should change your voicemail password to, if you ever get lost, like you should change it to your location because you don't need internet to do that. I mean, the amount of information that is on that platform is really astounding, and there's something for everyone. But I think its role in something like this is really heartwarming and positive and speaks to the power of social media for good.
Yeah, and if you want to learn how to pack an amazing lunch or make some great food, you need to follow Jessica, because she is just a wealth of information when it comes to that. All right, guys, great topics. Jessica, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. All right, well, it is the season of giving, and while it's wonderful to help those less fortunate, local nonprofits and the city want to make sure you're giving responsibly. We'll explain coming up.
You want a great rideshare experience? Don't ride with us. But if you drive after drinking or consuming cannabis, this is the ride you're gonna get. Plan a ride, or we'll pick you up. Paid for by the Nevada Departments of Public Safety and Transportation.
Welcome back, everyone. Whether it's providing a warm meal or some basic needs to the homeless, giving is a big part of the season. But there are certain ways to go about your giving while keeping everyone safe. I'm joined by Jocelyn Blewett-Fisher from our Community Service Department to tell us more about this. Thanks so much for being here.
No problem. Thank you for having us, or
Yes.
having me.
So this is actually a big deal because,
It is.
I love giving during the holiday season. I like to teach my kids about giving, and it's easy to just say, I have an idea. Let's take, goodies of XYZ down to XYZ and hand them out.
Right.
But you guys don't necessarily love that. Can you tell us why?
So we live in a very, very generous community, and people want to help. And so it is their intention to help when they go and do sidewalk feeding or handing out donated clothes on the streets or on the sidewalk. But what they don't realize is that that kind of giving leaves a lot of unintended consequences, not only for the folks that are receiving the gift, but also for the neighborhoods that are surrounding that particular area. For example, we've had food that's handed out that wasn't kept at the right temperature, and so some of the recipients have gotten ill. We've also had some people pulled from their cars because they brought 30 sandwiches and 50 or 70 people showed up, and there's just not enough. We know that the groups are careful and they stay behind to try to make sure all of the trash and debris is picked up and cleaned up before they leave, but it's never long enough. They're not there hours after the event to see the clothing that's discarded in the street or the food that's left on the sidewalk to spoil. It's not the city's position that we should be trying to make people comfortable on the street. Our goal is always to connect them to services and resources that can address their needs and help end their homelessness. Right. So we are hoping that this holiday season we can see more people working in partnership with our nonprofit partners There are free community meals served every single day, a breakfast, a lunch, and a dinner meal. So food isn't really the challenge for the people that are experiencing homelessness. They really need connections to resources, some case management, and eventually housing.
You know, I think a lot of people, when you talk about giving people basic needs, people will always say, well, they're not allowed in XYZ charity because they might be drunk or they could be using some sort of illegal substance. But that's not the case when it comes to meals, correct?
Correct. Community meals are open and free to anyone. If I walk in the doors this afternoon, I'll be able to eat the free lunch. There's no screening done beforehand. As long as folks come in, eat their food in an orderly fashion, the meals are open to everyone. I think that they might be referring to overnight shelter, and some of our shelters do have some restrictions on what people can bring inside, hours that they can be there, and so on. That's one of the reasons why the city opened the Courtyard Homeless Resource Center, which is open 24 hours a day, and people are always welcome to come in and receive services.
What is the biggest, I guess, donation that you guys see during the holiday season for those in need?
It's usually food. It's usually people that will prepare a meal with their church group or with a social organization and then come out to do the street feeding and provide that food to people that are experiencing homelessness. It's still just not a safe thing for anyone to do. It's really not safe for the people that are receiving the food. If they receive the meals or eat the meals inside of one of our nonprofit partners, we know that that food is cooked to the proper temperature. They're able to sit at a table and eat a meal with dignity. There's no dignity in eating a meal on a sidewalk. All of the community shelters also that do the free meals do holiday meals. So they try to do something a little special, a little extra for people experiencing homelessness during the holiday time so they can be a part of the holiday celebrations as well.
How does COVID-19 kind of play into all of this? Because now there's an added layer. You know, you have the potential for fights, you have the potential for, you know, debris left behind, but now you have the potential for a virus to spread from person to person with who everybody has great intentions to go and give food, but they could be unknowingly spreading the virus.
I don't think there's more of a challenge with spreading the violence with street feeding than with any other activity. Vaccinations are available to the homeless community as well. So we are always encouraging them to get vaccinated, and a large percentage of them have received the vaccine. What the danger is in doing the street feeding is if you're out there by yourself and the crowd is larger than what you can control, or if something happens in the crowd, you're there without any protection or any safety. That's why we encourage people to do it through our nonprofit partners. The nonprofit partners also are aware of what the needs are for the homeless population. So in addition to providing them with food, they also have case managers that work these community meals, talk to people, find out what their issues are, and then try to help them resolve it. A sandwich is great, but the greatest need is to help them in their homelessness.
So if someone were to hear you say this and say, okay, I just won't give food, but I'm going to give some warm socks and I'll take a bunch of warm socks down there, you're also saying go through the nonprofits. They can disperse those.
Absolutely. Again, the goal is for us to connect people to services, not to make them comfortable living on the street, which isn't safe for anyone. It's not safe for the people, the individuals who are living on the street. There's not proper sanitation. It's not safe for our neighborhoods and our communities, the sidewalks where our kids walk to school or where businesses are trying to operate. So the goal is always 100% to connect people to resources and get them to come inside.
Any phone number that people can call if they want more information on this?
Our main number for our department is 702-229-2330. If you call that number, someone can connect you to someone who can answer any questions anyone might have about responsible giving.
Great, Jocelyn, great information. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
All right, guys, well, that's going to do it for Trending Vegas. Make sure to subscribe to our newsletter. Just point your camera phone to that QR code on your screen and follow the prompts. Remember, you can always find us on our Go Vegas app on Amazon Fire, Roku, and Apple TV. Have a great day, everyone. We'll see you next time.